and welcome, Mona Delfino. We're so excited to get to have you here and be part of this journey with us. Mona Delfino is a quantum shaman and energy medicine practitioner. She's worked on and helped heal thousands of people across the world. She's a sought-after speaker and healer who takes medical intuition to a whole new level. And we can find out more about her at www.sacredreconnections.com. Welcome, Mona. I'd love to just invite you to share what is Sacred Reconnections.
Thank you, Lindsay. It's just so good to be here. I so appreciate this. What is Sacred Reconnections? Well, it's the name of my website that I chose because 7 years ago, I've been doing this for all my life. I've been doing this over 40 years with this medical intuition stuff, and I've learned a lot. My whole life has just been all about healing work. And so the neat part is I feel like I have become mastered in it because I do it so much for people. And I love this job. So Sacred Reconnections means that basically we're redeveloping ourselves through re-identifying. So if we look back at our world and see what happened in our world, what was going on at that time, and how could I have looked at that differently? How could I have seen the way that my life was differently? Then we reconnect back to who we are. And that brings forth an energy of a new kind of depth in your spirit, which allows you to start thinking differently. So that thinking is actually the most important part of understanding perception. So if you can look back on it, today we're in a world of Aquarius, that we're actually in a whole new world of looking at things differently. So the reconnections is going back, checking things, bringing it into the current times and saying, how can I see this differently? And that alone is what heals any kind of illness. It really does. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, thank you. And I'm curious, as a medical intuitive and shaman, how do you connect with animals and read their energy?
Oh, it is so much fun. It's so much fun. The way I connect with animals is I actually have, it's like after a while, I've done this for years, but I did it starting at 3 years old. We had a dog that my mother had a dog, and the dog would keep coming up to me and actually crying and looking at me. And I was just this little girl. And I used to look up at that dog and look up at my mom and go, what's going on? And I'd say, Mom, why is the dog crying? And she started to tell me, because it probably knows that we're going to have to get rid of it. You know, it's too much work. And she was never really there. She was always cooking or doing something for the family. She was never really talking to me directly. And so I remember looking at the dog and thinking, well, who's going to be there for the dog? And so that was how this whole thing started, is when I was very little. I remember actually looking at that dog and deciding that I had to help her because she was asking me. And so then I said, okay, so that's what started my very first talk to the dog. And then I got to talking to the dog quietly, like, well, tell me what's wrong with you? What's going on? And the dog would speak back. And I heard what the dog knew. The dog already knew that my mother didn't want it. So it wanted to get rid of it. So I actually put my hand on the dog. The only way I knew how to love was, I'm going to put my hand on you and I'm going to love you from here. And after that, I don't think she ever really did get rid of the dog. I think she thought about it, but it was enough for me to learn the lesson on how to communicate with it. So that started very early. And then it just happened throughout my whole life. I've always had animals come to me and always had things come up around animals. They're so easy to work with and they are so easy to heal. And when you really start hearing them, they'll tell you that they have a job. Their job is to be here with us. Their job is to help ease our pain. Their job is to take an illness or to react to something that we need to learn. They are always there for a reason. That's why it breaks my heart when I know that some of these animals don't get loved, because truly, it's all about that. Everything is. But when you really talk about the animals, that's what triggers. And I have stories for you to talk about, maybe with one or two animals that have literally listened. I've got pictures. I love stories. I think stories are great for kids. Kids have a way of understanding imagination and they learn from stories.
Yes, I agree. Will you please share a story about an animal that you've been able to bring back to that full vitality through your healing?
Oh, I would love to. I just happen to have a picture. I'm going to share this with you. This is a horse that was found in the desert last year. I have a friend who has a sanctuary, and she works as a refuge for some of these horses. And she has a woman that works with her. And the lady that works with her was going hiking one day with her son out here in the desert because we live up in the deserty area. Well, she went hiking and it was hot that day. And she went out there and she just said, what is that? And she could look all the way out, must have been at least 10 miles down, and she saw a little brown spot. Now, she was a volunteer at this sanctuary, so she knew something was up, but she couldn't figure out, is that a horse? So she asked her son, who was sitting right there, and he said, Mom, I think that's a horse. She says, well, this is impossible. Somebody must have dropped it off because there'd be no way a horse could eat out here. There was nothing for them to eat. There was no grazing. There was no grass. If anything, there was just stickers, you know, um, maybe a little bit of greenery, but it was all desert. So she got concerned and she made a phone call and she called my friend who had the sanctuary, who was her boss. So she went ahead and called her up. She immediately came out. Her name, Cindy, is the one that helped the horse. So she came out with a trailer and they had to find this horse. They didn't know where it went. They searched for 2 hours trying to find this horse with a horse trailer to bring him back. And they finally found him, and he just walked right into the trailer. And even Cindy said to me, she goes, I don't know how he did that. He looked like this. This was after he was already picked up. Let me see if I can get this out here for you. So this is Sammy. And this is when he was found. This is how skinny he was when he was first found. As you can tell, he didn't have much meat on his bones. And here's a picture of me working on him.
Hmm.
See how skinny his back end is?
Yes.
Okay, now this is a picture of me talking to him. Now, what I'm doing is I'm using my left hand, which is the receiving hand, and I'm listening to his memories. He's giving me information about how he was feeling. Now, I had to ask him, what's going on? Do you want to share with me who dropped you off? Nope. He didn't want to tell me that. He didn't want to tell me that part of it because he said to me he knew somebody was coming. He said he never worried about being skinny. He knew he wasn't going to die. He said he had 4 spirit horses working with him at the time, and he told me that he was told that someone was coming, so he never worried about it. He never got upset that he couldn't eat. And so, but it was a big deal because he had to lose his teeth because of it. They had to pull his teeth later. But the truth is, what happened was Sammy was amazing. He was just absolutely ready and willing to heal and to work with the lady that picked him up. I mean, absolutely incredible. So when I'm working with him and I've got my hand on him, I'm listening to everything he said. He told me what he wanted to eat. He told me how he ate his food. He told me that he preferred to have things like grains, but he said he couldn't eat them. He couldn't chew like a normal horse. He didn't have the proper teeth that were working. So he had to find ways to eat that were not going to be about chewing. They love apples and carrots. He can't chew that. So from that moment on, I started making him applesauce. And so I made him applesauce. I put it in the Vitamix, and he got applesauce and carrots all mashed up together. And he waits for me once a week to bring him his treats. And he eats mash, so he eats old food. He eats. They have to water it down so he can chew it, or at least swallow it. So this is Sammy today. This is after. This is his picture. No, I gotta get it right here for you. Hold on. Let me see. There it is.
Wow, he's gorgeous.
Gorgeous. He has gained almost 1,000 pounds
Wow.
in 8 months. He told me he was going to come back. He said, you won't even know me. And then he told me of a woman named Karen, and I had to think, who's Karen? So I listened, and I kept getting these pieces of information that he was telling me. Now, remember, it comes through the heart. So I'm not just listening up here. I'm listening in here. That's what a medical intuitive does. A real medical intuitive listens from the heart. When you get it and you start listening from that vibration, because everything's a vibration, then you start really connecting. And it's in that connection that we start to identify the truth of what's really going on. And that's how you do healing work. So when it time comes and you're really doing this, then you can actually get in there and start listening. Now, I do that for people as well. I do that for a lot of people all over the world, and I have been for 40 years now. I used to do massage therapy, and that really helped to get to know what the cellular memory was like through touch. And then I got to the point where I didn't have to touch anymore. I could actually just look at somebody and read. I also read the vibration of names. So anything with vibration is very important to understand. You can create, but you have to create from where you start. So in other words, you have to know basically what you've been through. You have all these memories, and some people have a lot of memories from a past life that don't even, kids in particular, children in particular, before the age of 3, they come in with memories and they know who they were. They know where they were. And by the time they're 5 or 6, they start coming into more of the adult. And then at that point, they start losing a little bit of that old memory because now they're cognizant. Between 5 and 6 years old, they're cognizant of who they are, what their mother says, who their mother is. And they listen like I do with the animals. They listen to the vibration of their parents. They listen to the vibration of their siblings. It's not always what somebody says. It's how they feel inside that the child picks up on. The child is so much more attentive than we give them credit for. They listen through the silence. So the more silent they are, the more they're hearing. So that's a good way to know that they're paying attention. And they have no choice. It's not like they're consciously paying attention. This is their field. This is who they are. And this is how big they are when they come in. Babies are huge. Babies are huge spirits in little bodies. They can't always say how they feel, but they will detect how they feel through their eyes, through their facial. That's why they make a lot of facial structured features. Even when they're, 6 months old, they're making funny faces. It's because it's not their nerves. It's because they're paying attention. And so it's amazing when you start really looking at the way kids are growing and how they already know some of this stuff. But when they come back into this life, like we do, like us adults, when we come back here, we have to start making decisions. And so we're like little people making decisions by the time we're 5 years old. 5 and 6, that's when we really start becoming cognizant in a body to know where we're going to go from here. And then how is that going to affect our personality? If we have a parent, as many of us adults know, if we have a parent that seems to be a little abusive or angry or an alcoholic or something, we know what to do. We've learned to stay back. We've learned that there's a pattern that we have to be our own example by not having a problem with getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional, mental, physically, or spiritually, we don't want to get hurt. So we have a natural instinct to protect ourselves. Now, that protection is based in the adrenal glands. So the minute that we get threatened, then the adrenal glands kick in. And the adrenal glands are not meant for that kind of fight or flight. But we use it for that because if we feel threatened, then it's almost like a saber-toothed tiger is chasing us and we got to run. So that's what the adrenal glands do. They actually start to pump up and they spend more time putting out adrenal, which is not always the best way of living. So I call that protection. And we learn it as a child. But then if we can change that down the road and realize that we don't need to do that, if we're more conscious of the pattern that's within us, if we know that we get scared or we know that we don't speak up, or we know that we're concerned about how people think about us. All of that stuff is actually related to how we deal with life. That becomes a pattern. And so it doesn't matter if you get married later on down the road or you have children of your own. If you don't change that pattern sooner or later, then you're not going to become better and bigger in your life. Some people have to get a sickness in order to rest. They have to get a sickness because the adrenal glands go into what we call autoimmune. When there's too much adrenal in the body, then it goes into what we call an autoimmune. The body takes on like autopilot in an airplane. It just takes on automatically. But sooner or later, like a bank account, it runs out.
Mm.
So if we're not careful, then we're going to continue to keep using that, and we're not going to be consciously aware of it. So then we have to get sick. And that's how the body works. So we have to learn these things so that we can learn that we're really not as, we don't have to be as in fear as we have been. So if we can learn to trust, and we can teach children how to trust in us, then
Mm.
we'll teach them well. They need to know that somebody is there for them that they can trust.
Yes. And I'm curious at about what age do you find that children start recognizing that they are a person and that they're in a human body making their own decisions and yeah, really helping them to lean into that trust?
5 years old.
5.
5
Okay.
years old. And that seems to be scientifically known now. I've known it for years because of reading energy. But now science is coming out with that. And you'll hear people like Bruce Lipton talking about it all the time, that, we start becoming adults by the time we're 5 and 6 years old. It has become a scientific proof that the brain changes and that the body's chemistry starts to change. And then by the time we're teenagers, what happens at the time we're 11 and 12? We start coming into puberty.
Mm.
We change again. So we keep changing, and we keep growing, and we keep learning until we hit a point sooner or later that now we become confronted with the way that we feel. And usually confrontation, a real true deep confrontation, comes around 16 years old. And that's because that's about the time period that you are now beginning to consider being an adult. You're no longer a child. You're getting ready to go out on your own. And now you have thoughts, and you have classes, and you have information, and all of this is computing in your body. So then what happens to the desire? What you want to do is think about, what would you like to do? Desire comes from imagination. And imagination is always there. And as Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. So we have to really remember that, because we're the ones creating, right? So we create through imagination, and these children are already doing that. And then down the road, they're going to have to start making more conscious choices. So that starts around 16. And then after that, it's all up to us to make those new decisions on what we're going to do.
Mm. And how can children improve their inner world to love themselves better and to understand their own powers?
Well, first, they have to have acceptance. They have to know they're accepted. They have to know that they have love. Now, they're going to be a little wild, because kids are wild and they like to make that known. But we have to let them, because a part of us realizes, see, when I was doing massage work back 30 years ago, I remember when I was first doing massage therapy at that time, I remember kids coming in, oh my gosh, I have so many stories about it. I should write another book about it. But these kids were coming in with this information that was blowing my mind. They were coming in with all of this knowledge that they already owned, that they had, but they didn't realize it was knowledge. So they never looked up to it. They never pat themselves on the back to say, I know this already. It's okay to know things. It's okay to say, I know this, and a lot of us have learned as we were growing up as adults, we never really gave ourselves permission to love ourselves. So that's a very good question. How do kids learn to love themselves? They have to be accepted. They have to be heard. 90% of my clientele has felt over the years that they were never heard. It stopped them from expressing. It stopped them from being in joy, and it stopped them from secreting glandular, like saliva and any kind of lubricant in the body wouldn't happen. I had to go in and say, well, it's because you're not satisfied. You haven't found what you love yet. So encourage children to learn how to love. Learn how to love. Don't just discipline them, even though we have to, but we have to learn to teach them how to love. What's your favorite sport? What's your favorite thing to do? You want to color today? You want to draw today? Let's do that. Hey, how about we read a book? And then sooner or later, if the child loves the book enough, the child starts to read at 3 years old.
Mm.
My grandson is doing that right now. And he's reading at 3. He's reading the Dick and Jane books. And I'm like, whoa. So, and my 6-year-old started at that age too, my 6-year-old grandchild. So it's amazing how they can correspond to your behavior patterns. So the parents and their behavior patterns, it's very important, because if you come home from work or you're stressed out because of COVID. Let's take care of ourselves. Let's watch that. Let's also make ourselves feel better and find the same desires of love and imagination within ourselves to change what that stress has done to us.
Mm,
Learn the lesson. The child knows. Let's do it like the child does.
I love that. Um, we've moved our 92-year-old grandmother into our home, and it's been really beautiful to watch our 4-year-old Elijah with her. And, he's changed his favorite colors. It's like, oh, now today it's not green, it's blue. And it's been beautiful to really celebrate that. Like, why is it blue today? And then we're going to focus on that. So being in the moment with them has been amazing. Yes.
Yes.
One more. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Going to say the children not only have imaginations, but we have to remember everything's energy. And what happens is they see things. They begin to see things. And if they say their favorite color is blue, and yesterday it was yellow, then what happens is they're flipping the switch. They're starting to say that blue is a vibration, and what they're attracted to is the vibration. The vibration is about when you look at the colors and you see what does these colors mean, just like flowers. Flowers are there to help our emotional state. And that's why God put them on the earth. We have flowers for our own emotional states. And so the colors, the smells, all of that is to appease the senses, to help our imagination and our physique to feel comfortable. So that's why they do that. And they'll pick these certain colors and they'll say, oh, I like blue. But blue is actually spiritual. Blue is about safety. It's about feeling empowered. Purple is self-empowerment. Purple is courage, it's confidence. So purple is amazing. So when these kids have these different colors, now my grandson likes pink, and so his color is pink. And he also has long hair, so people think he's a girl because he likes to wear pink and he has long hair. But he's a real boy. I love that. I love that. And he just always has liked pink, and the little one likes yellow. And so, they have the higher colors because they're higher spiritually evolved.
I love this, and I'd love to get to see your grandson someday. He sounds awesome. One of my questions as well is going to be about the meditation that you're going to be sharing with us. I want to ask you because we just got a new little puppy a couple of months ago, and that's been beautiful to have her in our home. But do you have any insights for children to be able to listen to their animals' needs, like you had said, from the heart? Yeah,
Yes,
can you share a
I
little bit
I
about
would
that?
love to do a little meditation, and this can include, of course, parents, and this is also for any age group because kids learn at a very early age. So I'm going to do a very special, very simple meditation. Doesn't take much. Kids' attention spans aren't very long, so we want to keep that in mind. So what we're going to do here is I'll do a quick meditation to show how this can work, and this is a lifelong lesson in less than 3 minutes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your wisdom, Mona.
Oh, you're welcome, honey. Man, we had to learn it, didn't we, Lindsay? We had to learn the hard way, but we learned it. And now we can teach what we've learned. This is what our children need most of all, is to have lessons from people that have been through it. They need to know that you've been through it so that they can identify. See? So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little meditation here. So I'd say go ahead and parents, let's go ahead and put our feet on the floor and take a nice deep breath in. Get quiet. Now, this is for you and your children. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to have you think for a moment of one word. Think of one word that's an adjective, something like kindness. Let's start with kindness. And just say it. Say it out loud. Kindness.
Kindness.
One more time. Kindness.
Kindness.
Now, are you just saying it or are you feeling it? At this point, I want you just to say it. You say it with your thought. You think of kindness. You think of how it's spelled. You see it in front of you. Okay, now I want you to put your hand on your heart. And I want you to breathe and say it again, and this time attribute it to the heart. So now you're going to feel kindness. Okay, take a breath and feel kindness. See the difference. This is like, what does this mean to you? Some of you are having images of experiences you've been through, somebody that was kind to you, things like that. But this is important. But remember, that's an effect to a cause. So the cause is how you feel. You always want to attribute what you say to your heart. That way you will know what to say. See, that's the knowledge comes from the heart. Let's take another word. Let's take the word love. Now, I want you to see, this is a good one because everybody uses that word and throws it around, but they don't always know what it means, do they? So we want to take the word love and pretend inside with your eyes closed, you're going to see a stage in front of you, like a stage, like you're going to go to a movie show, but the curtains are closed. So you're sitting there looking at the stage. Okay. And suddenly the curtains open and there's the word love. So you read it, you see it on the stage, and you can say it says love, right? That's what it's supposed to do. Now, take your heart and keep watching that word love on the stage as you put your hand on your heart and breathe into your heart and feel the word love. See what it's doing to the body? Some people are actually tingling a little bit. I can feel it. You're tingling in the back of your shoulders. These are the beautiful times that are happening right now. You can feel what you're saying, what you're seeing, and what you're interpreting. Okay. And that, with that breath, you can actually see on stage, there's that word. Now, give the L some legs. Give the O a little, like two shoes. Give the V a couple legs and the E a couple legs and watch it start to dance. Now, see the letters starting to dance. The more you apply your love to the word, you can start seeing a dance and it will start moving. Now watch the letters move. And then they're going to go right off the stage. And now you have accrued the true information of what love really means to you. And you can do this any day with any word at any time.
Mm. Beautiful.
And there's the difference between thought and feeling.
Mm.
See? And that's the connection that we have to make as shamans. Shaman world is our world. It's the way that we live. We connect with everything, plants, animals, teachers, friends, parents, everyone. So let's connect together and it's going to change our world.
Mm. Thank you so much, Mona. I have one more thing I want to ask you to speak on just a little bit more. And that was what you said just before the meditation about how we've really been through it and that children need to know that, that they feel that. So can you speak about just expressing our emotions as parents in front of our children and the importance of that?
Thank you, Lindsay. Yes, I would love to. I've seen many times because I do this work and I do a lot of energy work and healing for a lot of people, kids as well. And I see a lot of times kids don't feel heard, and they don't. And then you grow up and you still don't feel heard as an adult. So you just assume you're not going to be heard. Well, that stifles your self-esteem. So with children, what we have to do is say, look, yes, we are raising our children. Yes, we have to be the disciplinary. Yes, we have to be the mother and father to always watch and see how they're doing. We want the best for them. But let me tell you what you're not listening to in some cases. Kids don't know the best for them. They're listening to you. So if they see you as a disciplinarian, or they see you as, oh, I can't do that because mommy's going to get mad, or daddy's going to have a heart attack if I tell him this. If kids do that, then they're not going to trust you. They don't know how to trust that way. So we want to turn that around just enough to say, let's start not only listening to them better, but let's also pay attention, because we were there once. We were there once. And if we can go back and listen to how they're feeling, rather than thinking this way, we have to be linear all the time. No, we don't. We can come back to that personal touch. And the personal touch is letting them know how you feel, not just by, oh, you did this wrong, or you did that wrong. You want to know, say, when I was a kid, when I did that, this is what happened to me. Share your story, and then turn around and love them. They will do exactly what you ask in a heartbeat if they know they're connecting to you, especially the most important person in their life, you. So that's how that works. And then you just want to listen to them better, and you want them to express themselves, because this is what they're going to do for the rest of their lives. You are training them to become the best that they can.
That is so beautiful. Thank you so much. It's so true. And I find that our three children actually love hearing stories about when we were younger. And that's their favorite kind of story, is what happened to us when we were younger. They
Right.
just love it.
And you watch a lot of these movies today, Lindsay, and you see that even in movies, they talk about, mama always said, life is like a box of chocolates. But kids remember what you say, and kids remember how you act when you say it. The thing is, it'll always stay here, because they have a little amygdala right here that keeps all these desired memories coming in. And that amygdala is actually going to keep that memory alive, because it meant something to the heart. And that's why this works together. So when you feel like you want to share something with them, even if you have a dog that dies in the house, or a cat that passes away, whatever, cry with your children. Please, emotionally let yourself be part of their life, because they will know who you are by feeling that this is less threatening to them. Then they don't feel like they always have to, the olden days, remember the fathers would stand and say, you want something to cry about? I'll give you something to cry about. Those days are over. They're gone. We don't need that kind of stuff in our lives anymore, right? So so we want to connect. That's my favorite. Sacred reconnections, baby.
Yes. Oh, thank you for bringing us back into the heart and to the realization of this new paradigm. So, yes, check out her awesome website, www.sacredreconnections.com, to learn more. Thank you so much, Mona, for your beautiful time and your stories. What an amazing story about Sammy as well. Thank you.
I'll do an article on the children in my next article. So if you go on the website, please click to accept the newsletter, and then you will have it for you in your mailbox around the first of the month.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Looking forward to next time. Thank you, Mona. We love you.
Love you too. Bye-bye, everybody.